Hi, I'm Larry,
I'm Gret.
I'm Christy.
and welcome to Dangerous Drag Queens and Other Deviants.
A podcast about the outrageous and sometimes dark world of drag, gender, and sexual identity, and how communities facing stigmatization are making a positive impact just by living their lives out loud.
Brought to you by Virtual Arts.
Hey, everybody, I'm Larry.
I'm Gret.
And I'm Christy. Welcome back to our third installment of Dangerous Drag Queens and Other Deviants.
Today's episode is going to have somebody who I've known for 35 years. His name is Billy Hipkins, currently works on the Broadway show Back to the Future. And you're going to love Billy because he's smart, but he's also funny. So, let's get into the funny since we promised that we would bring back the funny. So let's bring Billy in. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody. And here we are on another episode of Dangerous Drag Queens and Other Deviants. And we have today our guest, Billy Hipkins, who just told us that he can be foul-mouthed. So get ready, everybody, because here comes Billy. So, Billy, tell us a little bit about what you're doing in the theater right now.
I'm so happy to be here and to be asked to run my mouth any place is a thrill. I love it. I'm currently a dresser on Broadway. I'm currently dressing my 32nd Broadway show. I've done a lot of full-time tracks on shows, substituting on shows, day working on shows, filling in. The trick to getting 32 credits is to work on shows that flop in a month, and you can just keep racking them up. But if it failed, I was there. Kathy Lee Gifford, Scandalous, anyone? Hands on Hard Body, anyone? Amazing Grace, the musical, anyone? Yeah, I was there. Oh, Be More Chill. I've seen them come. I've seen them go. So I am currently dressing the two stars of Back to the Future, the musical, and having a ball doing that. Before I full-time segued into dressing, I was a performer myself. I was in one Broadway show. I was in Anna Karenina, the musicale. That lasted 10 whole weeks.
All
Yeah.
right.
So I always did wardrobe though. And to the drag thing, I couldn't wait for Halloween. You get to put on a dress once a year, I'm in. So I kind of always gravitated to wardrobe when I wasn't performing. And Tony and Tina was really the biggest first job I had in wardrobe. While I was still auditioning, I remember at one point I did leave Tony and Tina to go tour America for the summer as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and then came back to Tony and Tina. So it just after a while. I got into I was in the acting unions. I did a lot of soap operas too back in the day. I was on all four soaps that began with a vowel in New York City. Had lines on all of those, and uh, eventually got into the wardrobe union. I dressed Radio City Christmas show one year, and it was great. It was a thrill. I never need to do it again. Oh boy. But did that, and then eventually got to a point where I was offered a track on Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. I was like, oh, and I'll do that in audition. And then I realized, no, wait a minute. I've always wanted to be part of the Broadway community, and I am. The thing is, I just don't have to vocalize and show up at auditions or any of that stuff, and I never want to do it again. So I kind of just landed very happily in wardrobe, and that has allowed me through Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, primarily, to write skits, perform things, put things on stage. I remember bringing Tony and Tina's wedding to the Easter Bonnet competition and blowing everything out of the water because they'd never seen anything like us. They did not expect this downtown ragtag group of crazy to show up in the Broadway arena and really rock their world, and we did. So I have had a lot of fun doing that stuff. That has allowed me to do my own writing and work, and that has led to me writing and performing 3 solo shows of my own.
Oh, yes, tell us about those because I've not been able to see them, but I know that you have been doing them.
Yeah, well, the first one I do have my YouTube channel is called The Also Ran because the whole thing is like I wanted to be big and famous. I wanted to have many awards, but I've just been running the race. I'm an also ran in the race. And the first show, which is actually the very first video on my YouTube channel, is called The Also Ran. It is a story about an actress that was at Ford's Theater the night that Lincoln was assassinated. Now, over 2 decades ago. I go to Ford's because when you're in DC, you have to do a showbiz pilgrimage and go to Ford's Theater. It's what you do. And I'm looking over just all sorts of disinterested stuff. I could care less, really. I grew up in a family obsessed with American history, and I could give a rat's ass. I could care less. Um, but I saw a handbill from the night of the assassination. We're doing American Cousin starring Laura Keane. She's a visiting star. And tomorrow night, for the benefit of Miss Jenny Gourlay, we'll be doing. And I went, wait a minute, wait a minute. Oh, that didn't happen. Who is
Oh.
she? What happened to her?
Mm.
And it caught me, and I had to really do my research into it. And what got crazy is the more I'm researching, the more I'm finding there's very little to know about Jenny Gourlay, except that she was there when the gun went off. She's one of the people. And it is personally infuriating me that I believe had she done that benefit performance. Now, benefit at that time meant half the house goes to that actor. So as a member of the Ford's Theater Acting Company, she is a local hero at age 19, and tomorrow night we're giving her half the proceeds. It's a big deal, and it's taken from her. So what happened? And it's getting personal. It feels personal. I ended up through research finding out where she ended up living out in Milford, Pennsylvania. I go out there. There's a historical society that has two of her theatrical costumes crumpled up in boxes in an attic. And this is going to get me going because it feels personal to me.
Mm.
Why is
Yeah.
this personal to me? Come flash forward. The open-ended question is, was that my past life? And
Wow.
it was. It was.
Wow.
And it's this
Yeah.
thing I've carried
Mm.
into these lives of just like, bang, guns go off, life shifts, things happen, the world changes. What do you do? What
Yeah.
did she do? What have I done? So this piece is a 70-minute piece about her story, my story. I relate to this, her theatrical start, my theatrical start. I tell the story about playing a radish in our second grade production of Peter Rabbit and how I was absolutely robbed of the lead right there from the start. It just got worse from there. So it's this personal. I need to tell her story. I
Mm.
need to give her her due, and I'm also reliving always. When I tell you this emotion that's coming up right now, It's like a loose tooth that you can't stop touching, even though it hurts. It's like the gun went off 2 minutes ago.
Mm.
Whenever I really think about that assassination,
Mm.
I was there. I know it. There's some part of me that is reliving it over and over. And what's interesting with the whole drag thing is in the show, I again talking about this American history family that I could have cared less. The thing I loved about our vacations, because if I'll tell you what, every goddamn summer, 4 children, 2 adults packed in a station wagon driving to some place with the last name Berg, Gettysburg, Vicksburg, blah, blah, Berg. If the gun went off, that's where we were going to walk around a fucking battlefield in August. I love the wax museums because they're theater,
Oh, no doubt.
tableaus, and they have costumes and they're indoors and air conditioned.
Yeah.
Go away from this trip. What did I take away from it? You ready? When I was no more than 10, I would take, you remember Hot Wheels racing cars with that orange track?
Oh,
Yeah.
You get
yeah.
them
Of
together.
course.
If
Yeah.
you take Hot Wheels track and you link it into 3 circles, and then you take string and a belt and a bed sheet, you can make a hoop skirt.
Oh, yes, you can.
I
Ooh.
used to make hoop skirts, and I do it in the show. I absolutely get it. I put on my hoop skirt and I reenact what I used to do as a kid. I used to waltz with soldiers when I was 10 years old. That was what I took away from all that.
Amazing.
So
It's amazing.
it was crazy. It was always there. So that's the first
Well,
piece.
and where you were born on the East Coast?
I was born in New Jersey. Yeah, literally about 20 miles due west of here in Essex County, New Jersey. So yeah, I was always kind of I grew up in Verona, New Jersey, a town that looks good in the rear view mirror is what I always say. They didn't get me, and I'm just getting to New York where I'm going to be big, fat, and famous with a lot of awards. I can't wait to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Was always the thing. Oh yeah. I'm heading to the city.
And
Sidebar. Do you know the film? It was Jimmy Stewart, I think, Shenandoah is a story about a Virginian farmer and
I
his
know
five
it.
sons who does not want to get involved in the war, but the war visits them anyway. That is what happened in
Mm.
that war. Now there's a musical of it. It's not a great musical.
Mm.
One time I did a summer stock production of Shenandoah. Okay, so here it is. It's not a great production either. The five brothers are on the stage with the rest of the family, and a marauder comes in and he shoots one of the brothers. Bang! He hits the floor. Dead silence. Somebody in the audience clears a bell, says, "One down, 4 to go."
Oh my gosh.
Is
Oh,
the
God, yeah.
casting pretty straightforward in your production of Back to the Future?
It is. What is interesting in Back to the Future is some of our understudy casting uh, is wonderful. Where we have had Marty McFly, the iconic Michael J. Fox role, played by brown people, and that has been like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
So we
Wow.
do have some of our understudies and his girlfriend. We have a few different actresses. I don't think we have any of the Jennifers. I don't think any of them are actually white girls.
Hmm.
We have a nice mix of other individuals getting to play roles and step up into these roles. But it's been kind of nice. So we are in a Broadway now that is opening up more and more and more. But we're also finding very much now, uh, beyond race, the binary thing. Like, for example, right now on our production, I think this is very common now. We don't say men's ensemble, women's ensemble, which was standard forever. We're saying we have ensemble one, male identifying, ensemble two, female identifying. That's
Mm,
what we do. What is interesting is within that, though, all of the ensemble one, they're playing male identifying characters on the stage, but we still break it down to discuss ensemble one and ensemble two that way.
mm.
That's just kind of the way we've opened things up. Now, I do think in musicals, you can get away with a bit more because let's be clear, a musical is a world where everyone's standing around and suddenly I'm singing to you and we're going to dance around. That's not life. So we already know we're in a fake world,
Yeah.
right? So the rules are already stretched on what you're
Mm.
willing to accept as a construct. This is a world where people just start to sing and start to dance. So within this world and this construct, we're also going to accept that people look the way they look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do think it's opened up a bit. And I do think in musicals, it's just easier to not make it a point. And I'm loving that more and more. It's not a point or a stunt or a
Right.
statement. It's just casting.
I know that you said that you did a lot of shows that opened and closed quickly.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
What was your favorite?
I do think that the first one, Beauty and the Beast, was probably my favorite because that was a family.
Mm.
We really, I went through a lot of life things. I did 7 years on that show, dressing Lumiere, and I don't
Wow.
know that I could ever do a 7 year of anything again.
The
But at
wardrobe
the
on that must
time,
be spectacular. My
oh,
goodness.
it was crazy. It was gorgeous, crazy upkeep. Lumiere literally had flaming hands. I mean, the man literally, it was me and a pyrotechnician getting him in and out of costume every day because he had butane tanks up in his shoulder blades that go down through his arm
Oh,
into a mechanism he's holding onto. The candle's up above that. He flips a switch and now gas is flowing up into the top of it. And he has a button that he pushes that is a literal taser, a literal taser. So gas flowing, taser, flames, gas off, gas, taser, flames. I mean, he's doing this all night. And it was madness. I mean, it was a lot. So you have an
wow.
actor that can't wipe his nose. I mean, it really was just
Right.
like hold a water bottle to their face, like mommy wipe their little foreheads and their face. They just can't. Uh,
Wow.
and I just it was over that 7 year run. I ended a long-term relationship. I got sober on that show. I went through a lot of life with that family around me.
Well, I think we're all fortunate to have been in this business because it has allowed us to be who we are, who we want to be,
Uh-huh.
um, and to, I think, have a really extraordinary group of friends, as you know, as seen on this video, that you can. I mean, I feel like I just talked to you yesterday. So, you know, it's years and years
Right,
of
right.
friendships and knowledge, and also, you know, I think that sometimes people who aren't in the theater don't know that it is work.
Oh, 8 times a week. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a grind.
Yeah.
It really is. A two-show day is not a joke. I mean, it's a grind. So
Right.
to really kind of be together on stage and off, doing what we're doing at the level we're doing it, and to really hold each other up through that, and understand, I'm tired, we're doing it, let's go.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So yeah, it's family. I mean, and we fight like family, and we love like
Mhm.
family, and we have grudges like family, and we celebrate things like family. I mean, it's all of that. You make a contract when you're in a show together, you're signing a contract together to just let's go, family. So yeah, and the heartbreak is they're all temporary
Yeah.
in these very tight families we build so that we can eventually walk away from them. And it's
Right.
heartbreaking. Unless it's Amazing Grace the musical, in which case you can't run away from the building fast enough. But that's, I mean, but that's another story. Oh Lord.
Do you feel that within that community, it's a safe place for people with gender identity issues? Is it an atypical kind of place? Is it a very different kind of place to work in terms of that?
Well, there is an unspoken tolerance because of, let's be clear, without gay men, there wouldn't be musical theater. So we have a lot of very straight folks, especially stagehands. That's a blue collar group, guys for the most part. And even that circle is changing. We're getting a lot more
Yeah.
women or female identifying in the wings. It's been kind of wonderful
It's
to see
fabulous.
Local One also expanding into a
that's
new
great.
dynamic and a new color dynamic and all sorts of things like that. But it is traditionally a very conservative, straight gang uh, who who are out of necessity of what we're doing. There's an unspoken tolerance, or actually a lot of fun. I mean, I know a lot of real super straight stagehands with a lot of, really out gay people who are just inappropriate with these married straight guys, and they just laugh because this is the world we're all living in. Whether we vote the same or not, that's a thing that's not spoken about. We just don't get into any of that. We just don't. But there is an unspoken tolerance because, again, if it wasn't for the gays, you wouldn't have a job in the first place. So you're welcome. So just kind of roll with it, roll with it. We don't have to agree, but we have to respect each other in a work environment, and let's enjoy our time together if we can.
Long running shows have their own personality too.
Yes.
Absolutely true.
Oh my gosh, yes. I always thought of them as kind of peaks and valleys on Tony and Tina's wedding. Even for me personally, it was either, oh, this is a really good, we've got a great cast going, we're in a great groove, and then like a few months later, you're in this place where like everybody's calling out and nobody's happy. Like,
Uh-huh.
where did we get here? 3 months ago, this was great.
Yeah,
No.
it's a
But then it picks back up again,
Always.
after a little
Always.
while. Yeah.
And sometimes it only takes one person to kind of, a new
Yes.
person joins the cast or
For
the
sure.
company, and the air is cleared and everything resets.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. All said and done, I mean, come on. I've said many times, long running shows, this is why postal workers get on top of roofs with guns. I mean, you're doing the same thing, the same thing, the same thing, 8 times a
It's
week
true.
for 10, 15,
Yeah.
27, 35 years, Phantom. Some of the folks backstage did it the entire run. And,
Yeah.
and it's, if you don't have a life outside of all of that, good God, I can name 2 people that were in that building that shared a quick change booth that didn't speak to each other for a decade. It was
Wow.
over like, you move that chair one more time, and I told her not to move that chair, and that was it. And they
Yeah.
put energy into just
Yeah. Oh,
for a decade. Oh
yeah.
God, it's just,
And
that's
what
a musical.
I mean, and what a
yep.
double-edged sword. It's the dream gig. Like you
Oh,
pray that the show lasts. You pray,
sure.
pray, pray that the show lasts. And then the show lasts and you're like, it's the same
Uh,
thing 8 times a week. You're exhausted, you're so tired of it, but you stay. You pray the gig lasts. And
mhm.
then it does.
Well, those shows like Phantom and a few other ones, it's been referred to as the golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
Mm,
And
Right.
also the joke for a long time with the cast of Phantom was, oh, I quit show business. I'm in Phantom.
Right?
yeah.
But who's going to walk away? You have a wife, you have kids, you have a family, you have a home, you have so much that it's affording you
Yeah.
that I know plenty of people, and to their credit, for the most part, the people, because I worked on Phantom too, I worked on that for 4 years, and I was like, oh, I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta go. Um, But the bulk of the people that did it long term found ways to keep it fresh, keep themselves fresh, work on things outside of there to nourish their souls. And but you've got a different hours, 9 to 5. That's just
Right.
what it is.
We should probably talk a little bit about drag, being it's in the title of our name. So I have a question for you,
Oh
Billy.
yeah.
I know you don't do drag often, but what was the first time you ever did drag in a public performance? What got you to do it?
Well, outside of Halloween, I've been sober over 20 years now. And back when I first got sober, thank you, through a lot of help, at the beginning of the phone book. Um
Yeah.
There was a group called there was I probably still exists around the country, Roundup. And one of the fundraisers that New York Big Apple Roundup did annually was the Miss Sobriety drag pageant. So when I was in early sobriety, I got involved with that and competed under the name Sharon Sharalot.
Love
And the
it.
thing was, I I am I'm a bad gay. I respect drag. I know the skill, the level of talent, the commitment, the money, the hours. I get all of that. But for me, I I've seen enough bitchy, slutty, hoary, mean, stupid, ugh, that to me, I'm like, okay, good for you, not for me. So I was like, what am I going to do? So the other thing was, I don't want to hide my candy. I don't want to paint my nails. I don't want to shave my legs. I want none of this. So I ended up coming up with more or less June Cleaver's neighbor. I got all these vintage Vogue patterns and made my own clothes for those. In a very, I want petticoats. I want little white gloves on. I want enough like hose that I don't have to like worry about my legs showing at all. And was able to get away with this very sincere character who could double entendre anything. So it was very subversive because she was a sincere, nice, she was a very polite lady who could say crazy shit. One year we did a side show that we did was a Judy Garland Christmas. We recreated the Judy Garland Christmas special with all sorts of guests dropping in on Judy. And I dropped in with a plate of Dunkin' Munchkins, and the line was, and it's a sober event. So, Judy, here, Judy, I brought you a plate of balls. They're rum balls without the rum. And like I was able to kind of get away with this level of crazy. I did that for a few years.
Mm.
Oh, this is my favorite. One of the years, the way that that pageant was won, because it was each contestant had a box in the lobby with their name, and you would buy raffle tickets, and you could buy as many raffle tickets as you liked, and vote for the person you want to win. So in other words, the girl with the richest boyfriend always won the pageant. That was just kind of what it was. um, and the other thing was the tickets were double, so because there was a raffle, there was a money back raffle, so there was more incentive to buy tickets. So one year, instead of competing, I was the lobby lady. I had a nun clicker and I had a bullhorn because I could be very 50s, like, please, everyone take your seats. We're about to start. We don't want to be here all night now. And I could like get away with like really bullying people in a very sincere nice way with my petticoats. And I wrote a song. Somebody did the tune for me, and I wrote the lyric explaining how we vote. And here, I'm so proud of this. Listen. Each gal has shown you her cunning stunt, and each gal has got a pretty box up front. Our winner, you can pick it. You just have to take your ticket and stick it in her box.
That is
That's
wonderful.
so
It
good.
gets better because of the raffle part. Now, don't just cram the whole thing in. Save half for yourself because there's a raffle you could win. So if you want that money shot, hold the bottom half tight and slide the top half in her slot. And I'm doing this sincerely. I mean, it's all being done very like, yes, I know. And I just was able to get away with murder. I competed 4 times. I was the first ever Miss Congeniality. Well, duh. I was the first runner-up, I think 3 times. I never did win that damn
Yeah.
thing, but I was a runner-up a few times. So that was my like in public. That was my drag thing. It's a lot of work. I mean, only very recently, a friend of mine was doing something. He's an artist and he was making masks. And he was like, I'd love to just photograph you wearing these masks. Like, let's do some mixed up clothing and all sorts of stuff. So at one point we did like just like petticoats over a tuxedo top with heels. And I hadn't had
Mm.
heels on in so long that I was like, I nearly died. My foot, it was 3 days of like, I have a club foot now. I really crippled myself in a 3-inch Laduca. I'm ruined. I'm ruined. Those days are over. Those days are
Oh,
over.
listen, COVID did that to all of us, I feel like. None of us had to wear heels during COVID. And I swear to you, I rarely go back now. And I'm 5'1". I need a heel. I need a heel. But I
Well,
rarely go back.
it,
It it
it's
it,
it's
it killed
torture.
me. It killed me.
It's so clear. A heel was not a woman's idea. I
I'm
mean, no, it makes your calves and your ass look great. Let's be clear. But this is not a woman's in the same way that I'm like pantyhose was not a woman's idea.
no.
Come on.
No. Nope.
Torture.
Thank you for
Crazy.
spending your day off with us.
I've enjoyed this immensely. I love doing stuff like this. I love run my mouth. Sure, why not? Go look at my YouTube channel. It's only me running my mouth
I
on any.
have watched some.
Yeah, it's just, sure. And people want to listen. Okay, yeah, I'll run my mouth. I'm fine with that. So I appreciate the offer to do so.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Back to the Future is now on a national tour, you said, right?
Yeah, they just started. The tour just started a couple weeks back. They're in their second city right now, and they're going to be out there for a while. So go see it in a town near you. It's of course a scaled down tour version, but I mean I know they have a flying car just like we do.
Yeah.
So we got some high tech stuff, and they're taking high tech on the road. So yeah. Yeah, the New York company. We are selling tickets through next April. I don't think that's the end. It's just you got to sell by block.
Billy, before we let you go, can you give us your YouTube station one more time and anything else you want to
Yes.
promote away?
Yeah, it's Billy Hipkins. You can find me under Billy Hipkins, the also ran. It's all sorts of me running my mouth about Broadway and every other thing in the world, my sobriety, all sorts of stuff. And my first solo show was on there. There's a lot of talk about my second solo show, Prince Charming, You're Late. That's another show for another day. And my Instagram is also the also ran. There's just a lot of me living my New York life, doing my thing. And go see a show anywhere.
Yeah.
Support theater any place.
Absolutely.
I'm always going to say that. Do that. Do that. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Billy. This has been so wonderful.
What a pleasure.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
No, it was just, Billy is fantastic. He's not a dangerous drag queen in terms of, thinking about drag in that way, but he has dressed so many. And what is drag? I mean, isn't putting Lumiere in a costume drag? So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
mean, theater in general is just such a community for that, I feel like. So it's a no-brainer to bring in a costumer or dresser from the theater world to talk to us about what that looks like and what that means.
And also, I thought it was fascinating. He's talking about, the culture within that microcosm of each theater, because I know that it's what it's what it is in the world.
Right,
You don't
right,
you don't get away from it just because you go in there.
right.
Um,
Sure.
Absolutely.
I finally read that article about Dolly Parton, which I did find fascinating. What's the paper it's from? I don't have it in front of me.
The Federalist, right wing conservative, obviously.
Yeah, of course, who doesn't love Dolly? Except maybe some of these people who are at the Federalist. But they're upset with her because she loves everybody.
Yes.
Right. Which
Yeah.
they equate to showing acceptance, and I don't know what to say about
It's
that.
right. It's
I,
even hard to explain their reasoning because they're saying she's taking Christianity and it's like a false gospel type thing. Is what like Christianity can't accept all
Well,
and
she's
love
not
all. So
really
when she's
not a
saying
fully.
that she's not being a good Christian was kind of how it seemed.
it's the cherry picking of the gospels, and what you take away from the gospels. It's saying, that if calling out what you view to be a sin is not judging that person. That judgment is for God. So you can't judge, but you can call out the sin, and you should call out the sin. And in doing so, you should condemn that person in some way. And then they judge her for what they're calling cherry picking. It to me it's such a backwards argument, because if they just turn the mirror on themselves, they're doing exactly what they're saying Dolly's doing
I
in
mean,
a
wouldn't
negative way. She's doing it in a positive, loving way, which is the main emphasis of all the gospel and Christianity is love, 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 love. And they're saying that's not good enough. It's okay. You need to be calling out sin.
wouldn't it be better if we were all like Dolly?
I mean,
Come on. I mean, I'm a Buddhist in Catholic clothing. No, is that what they say? I love in Buddhism. The one thing that says is that you're responsible, not somebody outside of you. So I don't fear being struck down and really sent to hell. I mean, I don't fear any of those things right now. Probably at the last minute of my deathbed, I'll, just ask forgiveness for everything, just in case. But I loved Buddhism because it didn't say that you had to choose. And they're kind of asking her to choose, you know. choose the ones that almost like choose the ones that you hate. I mean, was really a shocking article.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
too
it
nice.
is. It's upsetting to see something that could be so wonderful. What religion can be is wonderful, and what man has done to it is so awful. It's just so awful and self-serving. I had a hard time reading that article because
Yeah.
the hypocrisy was just oozing from that article.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, listen, I'm sure that Clarence Thomas has dressed up more than once as Dolly Parton in his RV with one of his wealthy billionaire boyfriends and sung Jolene that sat on the road.
Jolie.
Okay. That is a whole nother episode.
Well,
Oh my
before the
goodness.
Supreme Court decides we're unconstitutional, why don't you give us a like and subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts? And we'll see you next time on Dangerous Drag Queens and Other Deviants. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Calling all deviants.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to Dangerous Drag Queens and Other Deviants, as well as Virtual Arts on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube. And be sure to check us out at www.virtualartsproductions.org for all our latest projects.
And if you like what you hear, please share it with a friend. That's all for now. Keep living dangerously and on your own terms.